he called me about it's very well regulated by the state. They have to register every time, every October. And then they come out and accept me every time. So I look up Alabama stuff.
All right, I've got 5 o'clock. So I will call this June 1st, 2021 work session of the Enterprise City Council to order. Let the record show that all council members are present. We've got a fairly brief agenda tonight, but we'll jump right in. The first item is downtown event parking recommendation. If y'all will recall, we discussed at the last meeting some requests from the downtown association requesting that we look at downtown event parking. Who's going to take the lead on that? Chief Moore? All right.
Okay. He was select.
So the way we left that is we were going to punt that back to the staff and solicit recommendations from y'all.
So throughout the day and last couple of days, I've looked at different laws, and then Mr. Cotter also sent me some laws that I've looked up. One of them is Section 32, which is our traffic code. Part of that I found says local authorities may by ordinance or resolution prohibit the operation of vehicles upon any highways or impose restrictions as to the weight of vehicles when operated upon the highway under the jurisdiction of which such local authorities are responsible. So that's kind of where we get the whole semi-truck going downtown where it's can we not? There's kind of debate in that. We're not solely responsible for the road. So I reached out to AlDOT today and talked to Pat Henderson. And he said that is true, although from curb to curb, AlDOT is responsible for the road. We are not solely responsible. We can't enforce our own ordinances on it, except for the parking. He said the parking actually is, whenever they repave it, they're going to repaint the lines for the parking. But during the repaving, in between any type of repaving, the city is responsible for repainting the lines and everything else. So therefore, we do have a responsibility to the road. That being said, I asked during events, is it possible to make some sort of city ordinance downtown preventing parking during events where the roads are closed or anything else? He said he did not see why not. It is perfectly legal in his opinion. We have responsibility to the road because we maintain the parking, and as I said, not really so much as the roadway's my responsibility, but the safety and security of the people downtown. I'd much rather not wait until a car is parked and I get the roads closed and we need to move the car for them to drive through the parking lot. Drive through the road where there's people walking and milling about. So I simply asked, can we make a city ordinance that prevents parking from downtown? And he said, absolutely. So I guess the next step then would be in us discussing it is, since this is possible, we make a city ordinance. Well, he actually said that he feels that we can make any parking. I'd like to start off with events mainly, because that's my only concern right now. But that being said, do we make a city ordinance? How do we enforce the parking downtown? So we can tow, we can write a very serious citation. That's what we've talked about. If we up the fines, it has to be on the scheduled fines to the municipal court. But we can issue a citation. It doesn't help me in the problem that I have right then and there that a car is on Main Street. So do we tow the car? If we tow the car, do we issue a citation and tow the car? If we tow the car, where do we tow it to? So that's kind of what we're looking at now.
So I guess first question is it legal? Right. Is what they're asking us to explore legal? It appears that it is legal. Now we've got to decide, is it a good idea? And does it serve the city's best interest? Okay.
And how to go about enforcing it.
So it sounds like y'all got some ideas of how y'all want to do this?
I think we have some ideas. I think it's going to come down to us putting something together for city. A point that just want everybody to think about is if I issue a citation, which with anything, I think it needs to be just like our discipline needs to be a step discipline program. So, hey, let's get the car, let's make notification. Let's put a city, let's first back up. Let's do a city ordinance. Then we put signs prior to the event and give those people ample time to move their cars. And then we issue a citation. And then we tow the car finally. And after we tow the car, what's the best, I'm not saying political, but what's the best way for everybody as a city enterprise that we're not making the money making, but hey, we're just trying to make it safe.
Yeah, because ultimately what we're trying to do is make sure that the streets are clear by
That's correct.
Saturday morning in most cases.
That's correct. Or,
Christmas parade's a little different.
To make sure everything's closed down and get people off the street. But yes, Saturday morning, at what time do we start making sure everybody's car? If we tow the car, we make them pay for it. If the city accrues it, that bill, that's okay. We can do a bid. Like I talked to Troy. Troy actually opened bids for their towing companies, and the towing company set a standard rate of what it would cost to tow it from point A to point B, which was maybe 2 blocks. They took it to the courthouse, and he said that they had one car out of the bid, and the chief bar said that the city just accrued that bill. They just said, you know what, we'll just pay it. She got her car, the street is cleared. But if we issue a citation, and then the city pays the towing bill, we make it, I think he said his was like $65 a car. We can get reimbursed if he's found guilty, if he or she is found guilty.
So what are we doing now? I mean, when I come down on Saturdays to an event, it appears the street is by and large clear. So
we're just asking everybody to move. Most of the time, downtown businesses and most people know that this is coming up. So downtown businesses really get clear. There's really, like on a Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, there's really not a whole lot of cars downtown in the first place for us to actually have to, shuffle out, because most places don't open until 9 o'clock. So there's really not a whole lot of work on a Saturday morning. I think our concern, everybody's concerned more with the Christmas parade. How do we stop that? Where people park, at 7 o'clock in the morning, leave a vehicle down there so they have some place to sit. I think it's kind of our real concern.
okay. Any questions for Chief? I mean, we want to just continue down the path to something a little more official.
I have a question. If I think I heard you say that typically this is not a big problem on maybe some of your Saturday events. So how necessary you think, is this something we must do for parades, or is it something is it another option to, I guess I'm saying, can this be controlled just without towing, or is there any other, what other, I can't stand it.
So there's always, what I like to do and what I want to do on anything is I want to have something behind my authority. It's not just me. I don't in itself my badge, or I don't have the authority to tell somebody what to do. There normally has to be something written down that gives me authority. If my officers go out there and they enforce a law, or they enforce, hey, we got to move these cars, they need to have something behind them under authority. And that's the last, understand that's the last thing I want to do is tow a car and cost us money or cost the citizen money. But I do need something, and if we're going to say, hey, let's start enforcing this, I got to have something in writing substantial.
I guess I'm just asking, have you witnessed it being a problem with people? If you ask them, or if they have some type of sign or something that says don't park, are people just being, are they just ignoring that? Or
so most people move their cars when requested, even when they're parked where they're not supposed to. The issue, I think, what's bringing this on is the Christmas parade and people parking downtown and events, because that's what was brought up over and over again in our meetings, was people coming down and parking their cars
Days,
grandmother would-
for days sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Right. My grandmother used to park there the night before because she had 2 cars. So we had the van to sit in, the grandkids had the van to sit in. So I know that happens, and then that stops people from parking in front of businesses. The early morning Saturdays, not really a major concern. But if that car's, yes, we've had cars there, and we had to find the owners and get them to move their cars. So, but majority of people are very, very open.
Didn't Diva also offer to help us with signage and so forth as far as preventing this?
So, you know, and I'm kind of with Son, you know, is this a solution in search of a problem? I guess I don't have a real grasp of how bad the problem is.
I attended a DEPA meeting recently, and I think mainly it's the Christmas parade is the issue, because when they park there, you know, Sunday or Monday nights, it fills up so much of the parking downtown that the businesses say on the parade days that they have almost no traffic because there's nowhere to park.
In all honesty, with the parade also not having any cars on Main Street, I invite anybody that would like to come and watch us get traffic back out of Main Street whenever we open the roads. It's atrocious.
Yeah.
People walking, cars backing out, and the parade. It's almost like as soon as that last one goes by, people try to come out. This would, substantially make it easier for us to open Main Street and safely.
So the idea is that there are no cars at all parked on Main Street during the parade. So that's a Tuesday night. At what time's the parade start?
6:30. Well, yeah, we're down there, but
So
it comes out on
what,
street 6:30.
what was the? I mean, what's everybody thinking on at what time are the cars supposed to be removed?
I think what we discussed was possibly by 5 o'clock having all the cars off of Main Street, have the signs from no parking after 5 o'clock on the day of the event, Christmas parade. And then that gives me an hour to start enforcing, like going, and if I have to run tags and say you're in violation, you need to move your vehicle, going to businesses saying, get Cassidy or Tammy to assist and getting back to the business saying, hey, you guys got to get these cars off. Gives me time, and then at 6 o'clock when we normally start closing the road, it gives me 15 minutes. If they're still on there, again, only I've looked at Troy, and Troy said that Troy PD and Chief Barr said that it took them the last 15 minutes and they had 2 cars, and in that 15 minutes they found one of the 2 cars, one of the owners of the 2 cars, the other one they both pulled. So we're going down from, they said 10 or 15 down to 1 that they actually picked.
And at this point, we've got some personnel down there, and when people are driving, instructing them that they can't park.
That's correct. By then we've got officers down there.
And I think this is going to be a problem, not just the Christmas parade, but once we start expanding other organizations, other parades, and other closures of Main Street on a Friday, a Thursday, a Wednesday, whatever it is. So that can affect any day of the week for anything that's going on. Entertainment district, whatever it might be.
We're going to continue to open up.
It's got across the board.
Main Street and College, or College between Main and Edmonds, and then the other side, which is on the council tonight, that would also allow us to make a city ordinance preventing parking.
Right. For all other events too. Yeah.
Unless we can always do the unless by permit or something like that.
What's everybody's thoughts? We want to see something a little more specific.
Well, we need
or-
something for the chief, for his officers out there, like
Yeah.
you said, paperwork, something that they can lean on. If the citizen says, hey, what about this? Well, hey, here's an ordinance, or here's something that backs them up.
Right.
Then put
Otherwise,
pressure.
it's just a good idea y'all had.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
we don't want that.
Hard to hang our hat on a good idea.
Right.
What's your thoughts, Raina?
First of all, I think it's legal. I just think it's all these questions y'all are asking are really good questions. For instance, it kind of goes in the category, be careful what you wish for. Number one, the merchants may turn around and say, well, we need to have customers until as close as possible.
Mhm.
Number two, what kind of bottleneck are you understand you're gonna allow people to park on Main Street, it's just only after a certain time. Right?
Correct. It would end at 5 o'clock in the evening, the parking. We close the roads at 6 o'clock, we close the roads. So that gives us an hour to find people to get them off the road. And then from 6 to 6:30 gives us time to target vehicles that aren't.
So do you worry, just for example, and I know just to let everybody participate in how the sausage is made, but do you deal with, or there's a crowd down there waiting for the parade to start, are you gonna start backing up cars, people backing up cars and driving them out of the area, find violators, things like that?
The way it is now, yes, because it's the same now. It's, people start slowing down and trying to find their parking, and it's a nightmare trying to get people to get in or out.
Just wondering how much worse that's gonna be. I don't know.
And I really don't know either. All I can, I can say if this is what the council wants, we'll make it work, but we need to have teeth behind it. And I think that's something that nobody can really say, hey, it's going to work great or it's not going to work at all, because we never had this ordinance, so we don't know, or anything to help us with that. I've been working with Fraser.
Well, it'd be an education process with the media getting the word out, saying at this event, 5 o'clock, we're going to start clearing the streets, and we just keep hounding on that. And yeah, there's going to be some problems initially until people are educated about it.
The other thing I brought up on the towing thing, though, kind of go along with that, is it's the downtown businesses that are going to, and well, the council that's going to pay. I mean, like I've said, no disrespect to the public, but people don't like the police and they don't like getting citations. I'm used to that. But whenever that business, because somebody takes 45 minutes to make a burger and they come out, their car's towed, they're going to be angry at me. They're going to be really angry at the business.
And DEPA,
I mean, that's just something.
right, and DEPA's got to have a big part in this.
That's right.
Yeah.
For decision for the business.
Just in the interest of moving the process on, how about this? It sounds like there's at least enough interest to look at what an ordinance would look like. We see what it looks like, then we can have this full debate. Get Tammy and Cassidy involved. Make sure the chamber, DEPA are engaged on this, and have a full discussion on it. Is everybody everybody okay with,
be part
with
of it.
that? Okay.
I guess my last question on that is if, talking safety, just think about maybe for next time, what is safer, getting everybody off the street before the parade, or trying to clear all those cars that are parked there when the street's crowded full of people after the parade.
Mm-hmm.
If we're looking at safety, and that's really, again, my concern as chief of police, is the safety of people coming and visiting our town. It would be, I can already tell you, it would be a heck of a lot easier for us to get traffic safely, patrons away from the parade than it is to worry about cars in the beginning. I can get the cars in the beginning pretty easy compared to the messes afterwards. So.
Yeah.
As a former band director, whenever the parade is over, usually you're going to have band members, cheerleaders, and everybody else trying to cross the street like this. Somebody's trying to bang out.
Yes.
Even kid with an instrument, run over the parent, walk down the daughter or something. That in most cities that you go into, whenever they have parades like that, those cars out of the way, that gives the band a chance to move out, move their, whatever, flags and all this. Nobody seems like now, Enterprise Hospital, you got to bring them in like this, because you got those cars and those people standing out there.
Mm-hmm.
You threat somebody to get hit.
Yes.
So really, it would be a safety factor is to get those cars out of there both ways. That way, once it's over, people, like I said, will be out in the street, but it's easy to just let them walk, and then the cars are somewhere else, and then once you clear the street, then you can open it up.
Yes, sir.
How many total parking spots do we have downtown? Does anybody know? $167. And that includes back behind the Brawls Restaurant and Navigator. Of course, we wouldn't. That's not included in this. So 130 or so, probably. Okay, and we're adding 70 something. Yeah. Plus what we added at the courthouse.
That's where most, when people
Yeah.
do park and walk, that's where everybody seems to park at Regions,
Courthouse.
and stuff like that.
Right.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Jonathan, did you have, or go ahead, Ryan.
Purpose of drafting the ordinance y'all look at, are you in a position, so now you're more inclined to just clear all the cars, not allow cars to come in the park, even if they're within a certain time?
I think we would defer to staff on what their recommendation is, right?
Yeah, and especially Diva, you know, because that's their business. People
Yeah.
trying to buy stuff. So
Yeah.
you know, what do we do? I don't want to leave them out.
We could just draft something, send it out, you look at it, make tweaks to it, or whatever, we can have it prepared for the next council,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
or next work session.
Yeah. Of course, then we need to allow all the other stakeholders ample time to review it. I guess DEPA being probably the biggest stakeholder in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The parade committee, chamber, all that. So, all right. Did you have anything else, Jonathan? We hadn't really heard from you on it.
Really just if you do want to have some kind of control measure in the keys, right? They don't have anything to enforce it, so it really does us no good to address the parking thing without the ordinance if that's the direction the council decides.
Okay. All right, we're running a little behind. Let's move forward with the M4 contract discussion. It's gonna be Stacy, Jonathan, Jeremy.
So, council members, I think all of you have in your packet a copy of the M4 contract. It's a 2, maybe 3-page document. This contract would run for 4 years, although in some conversations since the term of the council has been extended through 2025, it may be advantageous to continue to move that a little bit forward so that it goes into the next council term, so that you don't decide something, the last 2 or 3 months of your term. But with that, I was going to open this up for a dialogue between M4 and Stacy, who administers the contract on behalf of the city. And then if we do start getting into anything that is maybe like related to cybersecurity or anything like that, then maybe we may need to go into executive session, though, depending on what line of questioning we go down. So just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Did y'all have any questions or anything specific about the contract?
So it looks pretty much like what we've been doing, right?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, we haven't raised your rates since 2008, and we're prepared to lock it in for another 5 years if you'd like to.
Okay. But it's basically just the same.
It's the same thing. The only thing that we changed on it was we added a line that said all other city facilities, just in case anything is added within the next 5 years. We'll be happy to cover that as well.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or concerns?
I think my biggest concern would be that it ends like right at 3 months before the election. That's because
Well,
the
and if we do-
legislature changed everything.
Yes.
Right,
Or it
and
would
I
not
wasn't
have
aware of
been.
that, but we can do 5 years.
So,
So that'll put it into June of 2026.
This type of contract, obviously, you guys know, doesn't fall under the bid law. So, normally you guys know how our fiscal year works. So, you guys can do whatever comfortable as far as the dates are concerned. So if you wanted to follow term to term, that's fine. It doesn't have to follow normal bid procedure, so, because it's a specialized contract.
My thought on it is, last council only extended it long enough to give this council an opportunity to decide what we wanted to do. And, obviously doesn't appear there's anything major changed here, so I don't see why we would have a big problem right now. If we decide to go ahead with this, I think we should do the same thing, is make sure it goes into the next term so that the next council has that opportunity, which would be 5 years instead of 4 years, but that's
up to y'all, really.
Yeah, no,
I'm 1/5.
I'm certainly not opposed. So there's one or two things we can do. We can make that decision now on the front end, or obviously we could extend it for 1 year on the back end. I know previously the last council, us three were involved. We were reluctant to enter into long-term agreements right at the end of a term. So I think it is good practice, good tradition for a council not to do that. So I'm certainly on board with what Greg is suggesting.
And just, my opinion is if the city and the staff are comfortable with the current IT provider, then I see no reason that we have to come rehash this right before the election. Just go ahead and extend it. If there comes up some reason that we are unhappy with it, then we bring that back.
Well, there's provisions
in the provision
in the contract.
There's a provision, 30 days
Yeah.
I think, notice to the city can end the contract, as well as we haven't done a survey across our entire employees in the city who utilize the IT contract, but across the departments, I've generally had good feedback from all the department heads about the services that are provided by N4,
right,
and the level of service that we're
so really it's really, provided N4 is willing to extend it to 5 years, it's to the city's best interest.
Absolutely.
Because it locks in the rate is what it does. Right. I mean, that's what you were saying.
So I guess, if you decide to take that up today, we could make those changes if you give, the mayor permission to engage in the contract.
So it is on our agenda,
with
right?
subsequent- It is.
Yeah. Is anybody opposed to taking this up tonight, as it's indicated on the agenda? If not, we would just need to get those changes made before we move into new business. Really, all we're doing is changing the
expiration date of the term.
the term.
I can go do that real quick before 6.
Yeah. Just changing the date to the next year. So, is everybody comfortable with that?
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next item is discussion of the agenda. We'll run through this and then that'll give us some. If we can make quick work of this, Jonathan's got a few things he can fill some time with. So we've got roll call, opening prayer, pledge of allegiance, approval of the agenda, consideration of the consent agenda, which is some minutes listed here, accounts payable A and B. Y'all stop me if you want to discuss anything. Contract billings, which is McDonald Construction, Poly Incorporated, CDG Engineers. Then we're going to recognize the Enterprise High School cheerleaders. We've got a permit request regarding Enterprise Military Appreciation Day, which is June 12th. Then privilege of the floor, we've got a hearing for the Spencer rezone from last month. Then we're going to have the oath of office for Captain Davis, who will now be our acting interim fire chief. We've got the franchise agreement. Rainer, anything of note on the franchise agreement?
It used to be that the Spectrum would pay, or charge communications would pay $25,000 fee plus 3% franchise fee. Due to some FCC regulations, they want the franchise fee to go from 3% to 5%. And instead of, in lieu of the $25,000 up front and the 3%. So that's a change, that's a material change. And other things are pretty standard in line with what the previous agreement was. We did put a competitive parity paragraph in here. I know that's something that you were interested in, make sure that when we go forward, we try to treat companies as equal as possible.
Yeah, so what that is making sure that, you know, we're not giving one cable provider a competitive advantage over another.
My recommendation would be to solely introduce it, and then consider it in the next meeting. I think it was in your packets the last meeting, but I don't think it was called to your attention, and I think it would be better for y'all to look it over for a couple of weeks, and then you can go ahead and you can introduce it if that's your desire, and then consider passage at the next meeting.
Okay. Is everybody okay with just introducing tonight?
Yeah, and I do have a quick question. It says non-exclusive. I know there's been a concept among the public that we had an exclusive contract with Spectrum. And
Never have.
And I felt that was a misunderstanding, especially when I saw the non-exclusive there. So another cable company could come in and provide services if they were willing to put up the capital to do so.
Absolutely, and I know you would welcome that. And it's unfortunately, a good majority of these franchise agreements are regulated by federal law. I wish it wasn't so. I wish we could do more. But we've had to explain that a few times. That's just the way that it is.
So the 3% to 5%, that was a request of Spectrum.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions on the franchise agreement? Of course, we'll have another opportunity to discuss that. And we've got a resolution to accept maintenance for the streets of Landing subdivision. Anything of note there, Barry or Glenn? Just routine. Review and consider the agreement for M4 that we just discussed. Request permission to purchase equipment. So we've got requests from Barry and Public Works to purchase these items. These are all budgeted items that were included in either our initial budget or an amended budget. We're going to seek bids on AV equipment out at the Civic Center. So I think all of us have been a member of meetings out there and have seen the need. Billy, you want to speak on? Yep. Absolutely. Now would be a good time.
Just to let you know, we're asking to seek bids, and the only reason we're asking to seek bids is because we've done some evaluation on it. The supply is not there yet, and once we have a source that has an update when supplies are in, that we can seek bids. But I don't want to be waiting for, they say, okay, now we have the supplies, and then come to you all to be able to seek bids. So basically what we're doing is asking to seek bids now, permission to seek bids. And if we're not able to send bids out by end of September, then we will come back again in the next fiscal year to ask to seek bids. So, but also by asking y'all, getting permission to seek bids when we know that the supply is there, that we can go ahead and go after it. And when the bids come in, we'll come back to you all to make a recommendation. Yeah, absolutely. The projectors, the build of the projectors, the electronics is a shortage in supplies, and that's why they're not available for us to do this. You know, primarily we want to replace the projectors, which they are outdated. You know, most of them are obsolete, and we have one we can't even repair. It's not in the ceiling. We've had already taken it down. You know, but anyway, that's the main reason is for that. So. Primarily, we're looking at wanting to replace the projectors. And then the audio, we have done some tweaks to it. Jeremy has gone and made had another company come in and made some adjustments and all that. So hopefully when we do go back out there, audio will be much better than what we've had in the past.
So most of the problem with audio is we didn't have we had some feedback and we didn't have what do you call it, a monitor.
Right, a monitor so you can actually
hear ourselves.
Correct, and others speak too.
Yeah.
So. But that's the main reason. So we might not be able to send the bids out, but we want to be prepared and ready to go when we're able to do so. Okay.
What kind of spend are we looking at potentially?
Between 80 to 100,000.
Okay.
And currently, through the amended budget, we have room. We have the money there, but may not spend it this fiscal year. But if we don't, we would like to put it in for the next fiscal year, and then if we're not able to seek bids, we'll come back in October in the new fiscal year and ask permission again to seek bids.
Okay. Any further questions, comments on that? All right. Board appointment, library seat 1. We discussed this at last work session, but we discussed nominating and appointing Carolyn McInnes for seat 1 and Carol Dreilinger for seat 2. Any change of heart since last work session on that? Technically, as far as our rotation goes, that seat 1 was my slot, and Sonia, yours was the seat 2.
And I think I expressed that I was
Right.
I was fine with whatever.
Right. Then we roll into mayor's report and council member comments. So that's all we got. Any desires to add anything to the agenda? All right, should be a pretty clean meeting. Jonathan had sent out a good report last week, and I asked him if we had some spare time to kind of expound on some of those items.
Sure. So, thank you, Councilman. So the Series C bond issuance went through. We locked in a 2.36% rate for the Series C bonds at $35 million approximately. The city should have that money on or about June 10th in hand. That was under the 772 bond validation process. So come June 10th or thereabouts, the city will have funds in hand to move forward with the various projects that we have discussed over the last 6 months or so. Some of the things that we can do now, though, in lieu of that, we can't build some new facilities if it's a rec center or a soccer complex, assuming these are all still your priorities to move forward with, without doing some preliminary engineering and design work. We've got folks that are going out to inspect the Enterprise State Community College pool. I think Barry Mott had a structural group out there today. We've still got a lot more analysis that needs to be done on sumps, pumps, and other things that are out there to get a full cost estimate. Design of a sports court complex / outdoor or indoor pool, whatever that might look like, in terms of addressing basketball, volleyball, indoor track, whatever we talked about as replacing the rec center in that space. Building material costs are sky high right now. But before we even get to the point where we're talking about buying building materials, we need to figure out exactly what we need to design to fit within the approximate budget that we have, because we don't have unlimited funds. We have an idea of how much money we would like to spend or think that facility should cost. And so, we can go out and get an architect and start laying out, what that might look like, and try to do a design build within those parameters and budget to make sure that we get, a minimum of, say, 4 basketball courts or 8 volleyball courts or whatever that is. We can move forward with the downtown parking. In fact, Barry's working on that. The mayor engaged in that contract for that lot behind the old Yancey Parker building. Demo the rec center potentially, and look at moving the Parks and Rec personnel to a temporary facility, potentially at the Enterprise Civic Center where it sits today. Build a new maintenance facility for Parks and Rec. The one there over by the old pool is very outdated, and for a marginal increase versus what we would have to pay to redo the roof and HVAC systems and everything out there, we can build a metal facility just like the one engineering has down the road here.
Talking about Billy's still next to the shirt factory there. So.
Correct. Yeah. And then renovations for City Hall that may or may not include, where to put police and our water board. We're looking at different options. Do we build new? Do we renovate, top and bottom floors at City Hall, what's going to give us the most flex space and be the best value. So we need to do some design work, get an architect or somebody to come in and put actual pen to paper, see what space is usable, maybe underutilized space, and start doing that. And then sign complete our MOU with ESCC for the soccer complex. And I think Rayner, are you prepared to comment on anything?
We're basically there. Just gotta get the agreement to the code system signed, get the review signed.
Has their board, or they call it a board of trustees, right? Have they approved it?
They preliminarily approved the concept. It's just sort of a formality.
So
Awesome.
we're moving forward on that as well. And then the sidewalk repairs in the downtown area. I think we talked about at the special call meeting, the TAP grant along Daleville Avenue, but also with that, the sidewalk repairs in the downtown area, about $150,000 is the last quote we had. We actually have to go through the bid process on that now. But all of those projects we can initiate now, pending, your approval, an authorization to go out and actually execute. So those are really all the I think the short-term projects we can start on. The longer-term stuff, that can take 12 months to do the design on some of those new facilities, to actually start construction, our operations budget if we have to hire additional personnel to maintain some of these. Those are all, longer-term. And then we obviously have the VA home, which we're moving forward with that. I think they'll break ground sometime in fourth quarter, and then the July 9th board meeting here in Enterprise for the ADVA, they'll unveil the final site rendering and potentially the name of the home.
When did you say that'll be?
July 9th.
July 9th. Okay.
At the Enterprise Civic Center.
And what is that exactly? I remember us talking about that. That's the official.
So it's the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs board meeting, and they'll be conducting that instead of Montgomery. They've asked to come down to Enterprise to host that meeting, and like I said, June 14th is the deadline on submitting names for the home, and so they should vote on a name at that meeting, and then unveil the final plans for the home.
So one reason I discussed with Jonathan giving y'all this report, obviously all these things are going to come back before us to officially approve, but a lot of work's got to be done just to get at the point on each one of these items to get at the point where we can approve something. So now would be a good time to kind of give the thumbs up, thumbs down. I mean, just about everything he discussed, if not everything, is in line with the priorities that this council set out at the beginning of our term. So I don't expect any of us to have any issues. It's pretty much what we told them to be working on. So everybody still feel good about the direction. I'm personally am thrilled and excited about
Exciting
this.
times.
So that was a mouthful that you just put out there. But
Yep.
The good thing is we've got the funding for it. It's certainly a workable item within our budget.
And I will point out, our budget numbers are up, significantly. I think the last council meeting, they were up over 15% in terms of sales tax collection throughout the year. So I do want to highlight that, this increase in, I guess, what you call debt service for these capital projects will be less than $200,000. When we initially entered into these discussions, rates were fluctuating, and I think we briefed the council it'd be somewhere around $400,000 to $450,000. It ended up being just under $200,000 that we're adding into the debt structure for, the council, which is great news for the taxpayers out there. And really, we're not moving the needle on, what we're doing in terms of, debt service, along with our organic growth. We'll be able to still address other things within the city pretty comfortably, by my estimation. So just wanted to point that out as well.
Roads, where are we at on our next round of roads?
We're in the final phase of design. We got all the field work done, all the road design. We're in design in the office right now, putting that sheet together.
can we, now that we've got the funding, for the next few phases, will we be able to basically roll from one phase to another?
I can address that. Here, this phase, current list that I've given to council that you all have, because one of the issues was water, and issues with water in the street, having problems with that through the water department. The first list is phase 2, I'm calling it, which is about 3.5, 3.8 million, which is what the budget was. Those streets are clear of water, so that list is good to go. As soon as we get the design, we should be good on that. The next phase, however, is going to involve some water issues. I've had the water department already go through that list, through what I feel like would be through the budgeted amount that's going to be for the next few phases, depending on how that's broken up. And we've gotten that data back in the office, and we're compiling that now. So once I get that compiled, I'll have a better idea of what the water issues are on those streets. So I don't have that yet, but I am working on that.
So you're saying there's a chance that there may be a break in the action?
Yeah, there may be. So I'll have to.
As we wait for water to get further ahead.
Could be, that's correct. Or there may be some streets we can rotate to a phase 3. We'll see how that works.
Does that also include the gas that you mentioned before?
Gas is also looking at it. That list is a lot more expansive for gas, so they're involved in this next. They're going to have clear on this phase we're doing now. They're working on that list. There'll be issues with that probably on the next phase as well, but we'll work through it with the gas district on that. So it's in planning stage on that section.
So if everything goes well, when do you think we'll be laying asphalt? For this phase 2, we'll call it.
I think we should be able to get through June and get the plans to the point to where we can advertise it. So you're talking about advertising possibly in July, August, maybe September is what I'm saying, probably on construction. I did reach out to the contractor who did the last phase of the project just to talk to him a little bit about budgeting. And he informed me today that it may be 10 or 15% more than it was in the last project, which is not too bad. So I'll factor that into the budget when we do the cost estimate on this next phase here as well. So the next time I come up, I'll probably be asking for permission to go to that bid, and then I'll have a better budget. We'll have a fixed list of streets then.
All right. We've got a total of 16 million.
We had 3.86 million in an account when I came on board that we're utilizing currently for this phase. The other number that we talked about under Series A bond revenue was 16 million, but we can utilize more or less than that depending on what it takes to get the roads done. So it's up to you. But the number we plugged in was 16 million. Some of that money does need to be obligated because we tied the gas tax revenue into it. I think that number was closer to 9 million. So we have about $9 million on that $500,000 a year that we do need to spend on roads at a minimum.
But that won't be hard.
That will not be hard. We have, I think if we used all 16 million plus this 3.86, I think we were looking at addressing 104 miles of roads, somewhere in that range, total. 104.
Which is about half of our total roads.
54%. 54%.
Yeah. Okay. Barry, did you have anything you want to add on that?
About 26% of the roads that were in that acceptable, good condition or better. So that 104 miles would each get those 4 to below categories. So with the $19 million,
Yeah. Of course, it's just to set expectations. This is going to take a few years, right, to work through all that because of utility issues, and you just can't get 104 miles of roads paved in 6 months.
our expectation is try to get this done in 4 years.
In 40. Okay.
We need to look at the water board also and see how they stand with their finances as being able to replace water lines in those roads that we need to resurface.
Yeah. Of course, we've got some CARES Act money that may help with that, right?
Since
or not CARES Act, whatever the latest round.
Relief Act
Yeah.
funds that two of the places that those funds can be utilized are water and sewer projects. Of course, Treasury is still putting out guidance, on that, but it looks like it's pretty broad for local municipalities, counties to consider water and sewer contract or water and sewer repair, replacement, running new lines, whatever that looks like, to provide safe drinking water, fix dilapidated sewer water issues, whatever that might look like. So it's pretty broad, but yeah, there are some things we need to make sure we're in compliance with, but certainly we might be able to use some of those funds for that.
Okay. Any other questions on any of the capital projects? Jonathan, did you have anything else for us? Okay. All right. Well, we will take a brief recess. I've got about 9 minutes, and we will return at 6 o'clock for our regular council meeting.
Hey, Mickey.
Hey, man.
Mayhem?
Show both of you that chance. Just got Stacy a minute ago. They filed for that plat next to the movie theater. Yeah. So that's the one you guys approved in December. They just filed that. Right. So we're moving.
They're moving forward.
I'd say maybe what we do, make sure I show you change the date to 5 years, change the provision to 4 years, so that it stays in line with what we talked about, always renewing 1 year. Take a look.
All they did was update the term. I mean,
These are going to be for the mayor to sign, but I just wanted to see before you change it.
through June 2026. Yeah, I mean, that's to our advantage.
I'm gonna assist mayor, so I just won't call her.
No, I'm gonna pull it out.
You wanna put, okay. I'll be assist.
A lot to be excited about.
I mean, if you start rattling all that stuff off, it's like,
Wow.
yeah, I love that place.
Couldn't you? Yeah. Wow.
I mean, that kind of stuff is working.
But yeah,
I think I saw soccer. That's when everybody's
even like people just get people's mindset of, hey, there is a south side. Just keep going around there. I mean, the momentum's headed that way already.
You got to get to the tipping point to get the.
I think that soccer complex would get tremendous this year.
I love it. I've only had it a couple of weeks. It's called a remarkable. It's a pretty dumb device actually, but it's an electronic notebook it's a Kindle that you can write on. It's basically what it is. That you can erase it. because of events like this, moving out. I'm fine with that, but y'all gotta fix that sign.
I think you're saying it would be fine.
If we can hear each other, we need to be able to, we're doing important stuff. We kind of need to be able to talk to each other. I don't know about you, but I get right. Like I just,
I was asked to get
yes, sir. Absolutely. I will, I'm glad you could make it. I'll call you. I will call you. Let me make sure. Yeah, just other side you can, you know, that's the microphone. Captain Light. Chaplain. Is that what you prefer? Chaplain, Captain Light, or just Captain Light? Chaplain Light. Right. Reduce facility. We're worried. What is that? Yeah, that's right. What brand? Of course, they'll probably have stock here. But I'm sure their business is right through the roof. I mean, they're like trying to double the we're having them. Like I said, they all agree. People like, we just order them out.
People call us
Now you know why I asked. I didn't know about that. Okay.
Yeah. I get it. You can only do so much. Have y'all tried online? You get pretty good. It's not Indeed. That's what a lot of people do.
I put it on.
We've had some luck with it. You get a lot of responses. A lot of them show up. I got 6 o'clock. I've got 6 o'clock. If I could get the room called to order. So I will call this June 1st, 2021 Enterprise City Council meeting to order. Let the record show that all council members are present. If you could please stand for the open prayer and pledge of allegiance. I have Chaplain Lay with us to give the opening prayer. Chaplain Lay.
Let us pray together. Lord, thank you for this wonderful evening and this gather of your people. We thank you for this wonderful city that we get to enjoy, live, and prosper together. Lord, we pray that your presence be here with us this evening. We pray for wisdom. We pray for humility as we see each and every one of us as servant leaders, that we serve and help this community to be the place where godliness and righteousness prosper. Lord, bless the mayor and the council and everyone that is here and all the people that are recognized tonight as well. And in your name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Council, you've got before you the agenda that has been submitted. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We now have the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the council for review, are considered to be routine, and will be enacted by one motion of the city council with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by request of a member of the city council. I will now call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Better let the record show that I'll be abstaining. I have a conflict on accounts payable B. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now have Mayor Cooper for the presentation of certificates to members and coaches of the Enterprise High School cheerleading team in recognition of winning the 2021 Universal Cheerleading Association National High School Cheerleading Championship in Orlando, Florida. Mayor Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. We would like to present the award-winning cheerleading Enterprise High School competition down in Orlando, Florida. This is a plus for our city of progress. We be recognized, as we are being recognized tonight with these beautiful young ladies and what they have carried on as far as representing the Enterprise High School. So let's give them a big round of applause. Okay, Councilwoman Rick will call. Oh yeah, this is what on all of them it says. Certificate of achievement presented to the office of the mayor, city of Enterprise, for earning the title of Universal Cheerleading Association National High School Cheerleading Championship. In witness thereof, I have here to set my hand, cause the seal of this city to be affixed. Dated this 1st day of June 2021, William E. Cooper, Mayor, as well as the Enterprise City Council. Okay.
So we're gonna call you ladies' name if you would come up and receive your certificate, and you can just line up across the front, okay? So Presley Thomas. Cadence Langford. Brooke Belden. Allie Grace McCarthy. Emma Jo Tice. Maya Wise. Sarah Kate Phillips. Brooklyn Michael. Emma Howell. Bailey Johnson. Brooke Elrod. Jade Belden. Grayson Cook. Peyton Hooks. Emma Beth Woodall. Chloe Belden. Emily Little. Mary Harlan Charlton. Tatum Taylor. Madison Reeves. Lindsay Bailey. Carly Hattery.
Okay, we want to call the sponsors up also to be a part of this picture taking. All the sponsors come up. We're gonna need to cover.
Mayor, I think we've got so many deputy ladies. If you want to find somebody that are kind of curved out, can we get you guys to step up right up? Mayor, would it be okay if we had them step behind?
Yeah.
Nuh-uh, I don't want them to mistake me as a cheerleader this time.
And if you're taller, it might make it more quick to find one that's got it. Remember, find it with it.
I asked her, I said, is Shonda Phillips? She was like, yes. I
We're
my
gonna make
class,
it
and she
here
was
as
like,
light as
she
shield.
Really?
yes. Yeah, she said it's a
She and my granddaughter at
good friend. Yeah.
Okay, tell me and I'll move. Let me start taking it.
Tammy. They can see the names on there. The coach had.
Nobody wants to do a split?
Let's have another big round of applause. For these young ladies.
Congratulations. Moving on with our agenda, we have a request to address the council, permit request. I'll now recognize Main Street Director Cassidy Kendrick, who has requested to address the council to obtain a permit to hold the Main Street Enterprise Military Appreciation Day on Saturday, June 12, 2021, from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. The following streets are requested to be closed for the event: College Street from Main Street to Edward Street, and West College Street from Main Street to Railroad Street. The requested street closure will not impede Main Street. Cassidy, anything to add?
No, that about covered it. Chad was very thorough with the request, but we've added a new register ring event this year for military appreciation. So we're just going to highlight the stores that do anything special for our military community, and then pending approval of the street closure, we were going to have the different military branches and veteran service organizations set up in the street, just to show some extra support to those in our community that use those organizations, and just have a good time. Yeah. And it's on the same weekend as the Alabama State game, so maybe we can get some of that out of town traffic down there too.
Yeah. The businesses in this area, they don't mind this closure.
I went through and asked them ahead of time if they would be okay with it, and they said they were happy to have the traffic.
Yeah,
so
I figured. Mm-hmm. Any questions for Cassidy? Chief Moore, you good?
I'm good with it.
All right. If there's no further questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. We will now have the privilege of the floor, which is part of the meeting where anybody from the general public may address the council for 3 minutes. Is there anybody who wishes to take? Is there anybody else? All right. Just, I think you've already spoken to Miss Sweeney, but make sure she's got your name. I believe we've got somebody to speak to us about beekeeping. Did everybody get the handout?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes, sir. Go ahead and tell us your name.
My name is Richard Woodham. I was going to start by saying, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, and council members, thank you for allowing me to be here. My name is Richard Woodham. I live in District 4 of Enterprise. I am retired. I'm currently in the Alabama Beekeepers Association for the state of Alabama, and I'm in the Master Beekeeping Program. One of the reasons I'm here is to talk about that I'm required to complete a great deal of public service and continuing education units to obtain the Master Beekeeping certification. I'm here to plant a seed with Enterprise for a new crop, and that new crop is honey. And one day I hope to be able to say that it was raised or collected from Enterprise. This came from New Brockton. So a dear friend of mine in New Brockton and I gathered this and put it in a bottle. Some of the things that I've handed y'all, I have it at the bottom about the handouts of my notes. The honeybee business in the United States is about a $15 billion a year business. Honeybees are responsible for pollinating 1/3 of the food that we eat as humans. 1 out of every 3 bites of food that we take is pollinated by honeybees. Most flowering crops require pollination for any production, not all flowering plants, but many of them, but most can be improved by pollination. There is a major business of pollinating through commercial beekeepers. They actually load up diesel flatbed trailer loads of boxes of bees stacked several high, and they truck them out to California to pollinate almonds, because almonds will not grow without pollination. And they take the bees up to Washington State for apples. They come across the top of the United States, down the eastern coast, and back down here. Then they sell them in packages Some beekeepers get as much as $250 a hive for pollinating almond trees. Many beekeepers get $50 to $60 a hive for pollinating watermelons and crops like that. And that is just for that pollination season. That is not for a year. That's just for that short period of time. Local beekeepers buy bees away from the state of Alabama. Some beekeepers buy honey outside of the state of Alabama because there's not a large enough supply. And in most cases, supplies for beekeeping is purchased either in Florida or Georgia. I recently was in Marianna, Florida, buying supplies for my bees. So there is a business. I'm not aware of any business in Enterprise, Alabama that you can go in and purchase a bee suit or a beehive or any tools. You can in Ozark at one place, but it's very small. You can go to Marianna, Florida. You can go over into Georgia. So there's an opportunity for having the equipment to sell. Most of you know that the Enterprise Farmers Market has honey for sale, and most people around the area bring it in. But the ordinances for Enterprise state that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that honeybees or apiaries cannot be in the city limits of Enterprise unless it is zoned for agriculture. Now, that is the way most cities have their ordinance written. And I have provided y'all with what Dothan does, and I will go over that. And please do not take it as a comparison or saying they're better, worse, different. That's just the one that I personally know about. So they actually have it that it has to be zoned agriculture, but the difference for Enterprise versus Dothan is that Enterprise will consider special situations. It's not an absolute no, but it would have to be like for.
You mean Dothan considers?
No, I'm talking about
Okay.
Enterprise would. Now, you can get it in Dothan. So let me say this, and then I'll come back to that. In special occasions, if it's a short-term 4-H project or something like that. So Enterprise does, in special short-term cases, allow that for non-agriculture zoned areas. But for Dothan, if you will look at this document, and you'll look at the top of the second page, it says apiary, apiary. And an apiary is where honeybees stay. And if you'll look across the top, you see a P2. I'm trying to read through the paper. P2 and a bunch of S's. Well, when we come back to the titles, what that means is P is permitted, S is special exception. But when you look under where the P2 is at, AC stands for agriculture. And then the R's are residential types, but there are special exceptions. So what happened in the city of Dothan is that the Wiregrass Beekeepers Association, Randy Hammond, the Department of Agriculture in Montgomery, Philip Carter that lives in Dothan, Bill Miller that's a master beekeeper in Dothan, they help write these guidelines. So you still have to come before a board or make a request to have bees inside the city limits of Dothan. And when you take the time to look at it, you cannot have them like in an apartment complex or something like that. There are very good restrictions of how many can be within an area of land and the size of it. So I would ask you to please look at that whenever you get a moment. The other documents that I have given y'all is this is from the NRCS, from the USDA. It's just a little bit about honeybees from a respected source. Then USD Department of Agriculture being serious about saving bees. Bees are going the way in some cases like quail and turkey that because of pesticides and other things they have been reduced, but they're on a comeback, and the USDA is very strong. There's many universities that has research centers, so honeybees is much more than just a hobby. And then the last one, I thought I would put some fun things about bees from NASA since they're reasonably respected also. So How am I doing on time? Do I need to hurry up?
Yeah, we need to wrap up, but
Okay.
go ahead and wrap up, and
Okay.
we'll.
Okay, so continuing on, this is my punchline. One insect made a difference in enterprise years ago. So let's support another insect that can help make a difference for the entire world, not just here. Please accept my 3 handouts. Please let me know what I can do to help you bring honeybees into our city limits with the appropriate guidelines. And I have all the professional people that I need to help me. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
So, make sure you, do we have a way to get in touch with you?
I do. Scotty does.
Okay, all right. Then, so what I would suggest, council, is that we discuss this further. Obviously, it's not on our agenda tonight, but I personally think that this is kind of like the food truck issue, and that there's been an evolving trend of urban farming and beekeeping and things like that our ordinances have not kept up with. So I think what we need to do is probably lean on Barry and Stacy and their staff to maybe, is everybody okay exploring and I don't know if we call it an urban farming, revisiting this. I know we talked about it when Mike Walters was here. He brought it to us and it kind of fizzled out, but things like chickens and small gardens and things that are technically in violation of our ordinance, if you interpret them one way, and I think this kind of falls in that category. So everybody okay with?
I agree.
Right.
Yes.
So we'll put it on a future agenda, and it sounds like Scotty knows how to get in touch with you.
But let me please make this comment. I'm a beekeeper. I would not recommend allowing bees in the city without the appropriate guidelines. That is the key.
Yeah, and that would be what we would want to go through a process to make sure it's reasonable and we balance safety concerns with everything that you brought up.
And I can bring together all of the people in the state of Alabama necessary. Thank you all so much.
Thank you very much.
Have a blessed evening.
Is there anybody else who wishes to address the council? All right, we will move on with our agenda. Thank you, Mr. Woodle. Moving on to old business. I will now call for a public hearing prior to consideration of ordinance 050421, providing for the rezone of 0.377 acres of land owned by Michael Spencer from B2, which is Downtown Business District, to R65, which is Residential District, located at 306 North Ross Street. We will now open that hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for or against the ordinance? Seeing no one, I will now close the hearing. And I will call for a motion to adopt ordinance 050421.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 050421. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to new business. I will now recognize Mayor Cooper, who will administer the oath of office to acting interim fire chief Christopher Davis.
She shot. Yes.
Okay, this is the oath of office now. I'm going to ask you, Chris, to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Christopher Davis.
I, Christopher Davis.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support.
That I will support.
The Constitution.
The Constitution.
Of the United States.
Of the United States.
Constitution.
Constitution.
Of the State of Alabama.
Of the State of Alabama.
As long as I continue.
As long as I continue.
A citizen thereof. A citizen thereof, and I will faithfully, honestly, discharge the duties of the office upon which I'm about to enter to the best of my ability. So help me God. Congratulations.
You come with me.
Where am I going?
There are two females hating this right now.
Okay, speech now.
I don't have shutting me up is the problem. I only got one thing I want to say. We've lost by chief leaving. That's 47 years of experience, and that's difficult for any organization to lose that. And I appreciate him, and I appreciate everybody that helped make his retirement so special. Mayor, council, Jonathan, I appreciate the trust that you put in me. I will do my best. I guarantee you I'll make mistakes, and I guarantee I'll fix them. Past that is the best I can do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Davis. All right, we will now introduce ordinance 06-0121, providing for the granting of a non-exclusive cable television franchise to Spectrum Southeast LLC to construct, operate, and maintain a cable television system in the city of Enterprise. The franchise agreement is for a term of 10 years with a franchise fee of 5% of the annual gross revenues. Council, we discussed this in the work session prior to this meeting, and we all agreed that we would lay this over. So we will lay that over. We'll move on to the next item. I will now introduce and call for consideration of Resolution 06-0121, providing to accept for maintenance the streets and other public easements and improvements which are expressly shown on the final plat of the Landing Phase 2 subdivision as public dedications, as set out in the May 26, 2021 letter from Stacey Hayes to the council. I will now entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 06-0121.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will now review and consider the agreement with Infor Technology Corporation for IT services. I introduce and call for consideration of an agreement with Infor Technology Corp. To provide technical support, design, installation, and maintenance for existing city information technology operations, software assistance, troubleshooting, maintenance of existing information technology infrastructure at a cost of $8,500 per month for a 5-year period. Council, we discussed this in the work session. We amended that to a 5-year period to go through June of 2026. You should all be in receipt of that agreement. I will entertain a motion to approve that agreement.
I move that we approve the agreement.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'll now introduce and call for consideration of a request from City Engineer, Public Works Director Barry Mott to purchase the following equipment through the Sourcewell Purchasing Program at a total cost of $480,649.08. One Caterpillar D3 105 horsepower AC cab dozer from Thompson Tractor in the amount of $154,144.02. One Caterpillar 289 D3 cab skid steer in the amount of $81,885.06 from Thompson Tractor. One Caterpillar 926M rubber tire loader from Thompson Tractor at a cost of $181,000. Two Hustler Super Z 60-inch zero-turn mowers from Dowling Truck and Tractor at $9,300 each. One Falcon asphalt trailer in the amount of $45,020 from Truck Equipment Sales Incorporated. The above listed items have been approved and are within the Public Works budget. I will entertain a motion to approve this request for permission to purchase equipment.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I will now introduce and call for consideration of a request from Billy Powell, Parks and Recreation Director, to seek bids for new AV equipment for the Enterprise Civic Center. As discussed in our work session prior to this meeting, I will entertain a motion to grant that request.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to grant the request for permission to seek bids for AV equipment for Civic Center. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I will now call for nominations to the Enterprise Library Board for seat 1, which is a 4-year term beginning July 6, 2021. Those motions are now open. We had discussed nominating Carolyn McInnes for this seat. Somebody nominate her?
I nominate Carol McInnes to the seat
All right.
1 for the library board.
For seat 1, are there any further nominations for seat 1? All right, we will close those nominations. I will call for all those in favor of nominating Carolyn McInnes for seat 1, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, Carolyn McInnes is appointed to seat 1. We will now open nominations to the Enterprise City Library Board for seat 2, which is a 4-year period beginning July 6, 2021. We had discussed nominating Carol Dreilinger. Will somebody nominate Carol Dreilinger?
I'd like to nominate Carol Dreilinger for seat number 2.
All right, are there any other nominations for seat 2? All right, those nominations are closed. All those in favor of Carol Dreilinger for seat 2 of the Library Board, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Carol Dreilinger is appointed to the Library Board seat 2. That concludes our agenda items. Mayor, you got a report for us?
Thank you, Mr. President. Parks and Recreation, regular baseball and softball season ended May 24th. All-Star play to begin in June. Upcoming tournaments and events, June 4th, 5th, All-Star Jamboree, expected 35 to 40 teams. June 5th, Alabama Sports Foundation State Games, Karate Tournament at Enterprise High School. June 11th through 13th, Alabama Sports Foundation State Games, Track and Field Indoor Air Rifle Shooting at Enterprise Highway will host these events. June 17th to 21, Dixie Ozone AAA and AA Baseball District Tournament, 12 teams. June 19th, USSA Softball Tournament. July 9th to the 12th, Dixie Girls Fast Pitch Softball State Tournament, expected 30 to 40 teams. Special programs and events. Weight Watchers meet on Wednesday, 9 a.m. starting June 9th. They will meet at the Farmers Market. Senior Acrobatic meets on Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. starting June 8th. They will meet at the Farmers Market. Summer camp registration is full with 65 participants throughout the summer. Civic Center. City Court is meeting 6 days for June. Parks and Recreation will host a summer camp event. Enterprise Police to host 2 days of training. Farmers Market. Farmers Market's kickoff was held on May 15th with a very good turnout for the farmers, vendors, and the public. June 26th is the watermelon contest day at Farmers Market. Senior Citizen Center. June 1st, the senior citizens start back full capacity with no restriction. Feeding about 33 participants through pickup and eating at the center. Delivering 23 to homebound senior citizens. Engineering permits approved. Single family detachment 3,909,571. Residential 36, 5,510,055. Commercial 1, $74,000. Nuisance property investigated 48. Verbal contact 3. Notification mail 45. Properties without progress 21. Properties mitigated 26. in my District 1. Fire Department received WAG N02 Pet Rescue CPR mask donated from the Coffee County Community Response Team, sir. Councilman Johnson, who completed the trainer course, will provide training in the future. Conducted Alabama Fire College Fire Instructor 1 class for internal and external students, 5/17-5/21. Water Department, there were 19 new construction water meter services installed in the month of May. The Don Smith Company has begun construction of the water well number 4A. The Don Smith Company has drilled the Highway 167 North well 6A, nearly complete. Installation of the casing and screen should begin this week. Miscellaneous Military Appreciation Day will be held downtown on Saturday, June 12th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Also, I would like to mention about the program this past weekend where Scotty Johnson served as the national ceremony, which was one of the best memorial programs that we've ever had. Well attended and well carried out. And I also would like to again congratulate our cheerleaders, the fine job that they're doing. Enterprise High School, everything that we're in is second to none. So again, we want to do that. And congratulations to Chris. And of course, I don't have a dog now, but whatever the situation is, I pray for you when you get home. Congratulations on the work that's going into all of the department head and city workers. Congratulations on the work that you're doing, and do have a good evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Sonia?
Congratulations, Chief Davis, and to our cheerleaders. Just want to especially thank Mr. Tullis and our mayor. In our work session, Mr. Tullis gave us a very detailed report about where we are with some of our capital projects and our improvements that we want to make in our city, our paving projects. So we're excited about where we're going with that. And as equal as that is important, I appreciate you, Mr. Woodard, for coming and enlightening us on bees and beekeeping. Just as those things are important, expanding our city in other areas are just as important. So thank you for your time.
Mr. Goolsby?
I would also like to congratulate our cheerleaders on making their national championships. That's quite an accomplishment. And welcome on board, Chief Davis. Thank you very much for your service. And I think I read in the paper where our Main Street was recognized by Tammy. What was it? USA Main Street?
Actually, from the U.S. Main Street program, yes, sir. There's certain criteria that you have to meet within our Main Street program, and we met it, and we haven't even been on Main Street for 3 years. So yes, sir, we received accreditation.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's
All
it.
right. Greg, go ahead.
I'm going to mostly echo what's already been said. Congratulations, cheerleaders, also to Chief Davis. And thank you, sir, for the beekeeping report. That was interesting. And once again, as already been said, I'm excited about the progress of Enterprise and where we're headed and all of the projects that are about to get started.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that too. Thank you, Jonathan, for that update. And for all our city workers, Enterprises keep progressing. Thank you again, and congratulations, Chief Davis. It's going to take me a while. I almost called you captain, but I'm looking forward to continue our work with you all out there. And congratulations to our cheerleaders. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, and for the city's support for that Memorial Day ceremony out at the park, where we add Ensign Joshua Caleb Watson's name to the wall. His mother was very impressed with the ceremony, and I know you noticed her when she touched his name on the wall. But Jonathan and Billy Powell, Jonathan Tullis out there with the Chief Davis and all your firefighters that were out there that day helping. It was greatly appreciated by everyone. And also our 212th Aviation Regiment were out there helping like they always do for City of Enterprise. Mr. Woodard, it's great talking to you today, and thank you for coming by. I'm looking forward. Maybe I might get a beehive in the back of my house if I can get it approved. And thank you to all those online, and thank you for everybody for coming in tonight, be part of your city.
Yep. Chief Davis, congratulations. Look forward to working with you, and to echo what everybody said, what a wonderful celebration we had last week for our outgoing Chief Harry. So thank you for everybody in the room that played a big part in that. So thank you all. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Mr. Woodham, look forward to working with you on moving our ordinances forward. Oftentimes, as council members, we don't have our ordinances memorized. We don't realize that maybe we do have some deficiencies and some legacy issues with them, and so look forward to moving those things forward. Scotty, thank you for all you do for the community. I think the mayor mentioned you several times. You're a man of many talents. I guess you can give CPR to animals. It sounds like.
Yeah.
TV coverage then was very impressive.
Well, I just say we do it for the city, all of us, and that's why we do what we do, and we love the city.
Yeah. Just
to be part of it. Thank you. I'm blessed every day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for going above and beyond. But that's all we got. So we are adjourned. See y'all in a few weeks.